I'm so honored to be here as the featured donor speaker at this year's undergraduate scholarship reception at one of the finest universities in the world. How great do I think the University of Wisconsin-Madison is? Let me illustrate with a story. Not long ago, I was at a professional meeting being introduced to a colleague. I was told he was from Brookfield, Wisconsin, so I immediately asked him about his time in Harvard. In Madison, I gave the joke away. When he told me he'd gone to Harvard, my only response could be, why on earth would you go to Harvard when you could have gone to Madison? And everyone with us laughed, but we didn't because we knew that I had hit the bullseye with that. How did I come to be standing at this podium? How did any of us come to be in this room today? Every one of you has a story about how you came to be here, beginning your education at one of the greatest universities in the world. We all have people in our lives who have helped us to be here. For some of us, it's a particular teacher, librarian, scout leader, neighbor, maybe our first boss. My story begins with my grandparents. And that's why the scholarship I endowed at the university is named for them. Angelina and Jesus Carreno. They immigrated to this country from Mexico at the end of the Mexican Revolution in the 1920s. Both of their childhoods had been disrupted by the revolution, and they wanted more for their children. They lived at first in Chicago until my grandfather was offered a position with the railroad in Kenosha County in the early 1930s. So they relocated to Bain Station with their 5 children. Anyone who knows Kenosha County knows they relocated to the middle, literally, of nowhere. Their dream of a better life always included education, and quickly those aspirations centered around an education at UW-Madison. This is a photo from my family's earliest days in this country. The 2 children in the photo, my aunts, both went on to graduate from UW-Madison. My Aunt Rena received a master's degree from UW in the 1940s, when few women received advanced degrees. Even more rare, a Mexican-American woman brought here as a young child. Her personal papers were archived here at the university in 2018, and they're available for scholars of the history of the Mexican-American experience in Madison. So keep that in mind, everyone. And there is also an oral history of the life of her husband, my Uncle Nacho, archived here. My Aunt Rachel, the other child in the photo, received her degree in medical technology at UW in 1950. A young woman receiving a STEM degree at that time was very unusual. Both of my aunts had long professional careers and at the same time raised families. This was many decades before affirmative action, before equal opportunity, before diversity, equity, and inclusion. There has been a member of my family at the university every decade since the 1940s, including many cousins earning undergraduate and graduate degrees here. One of my cousins, Cristina Mondragon, who's here with us this afternoon, earned her Juris Doctorate here in the 1980s. And right now, there's a 3rd-generation cousin at the university. We're all very proud of my cousin, William Jesus, who can't be here today because he's a member of the UW marching band and they have other things to do. I must confess, though, I have siblings who attended other universities: Air Force Academy, Marquette, University of Texas, Austin, Johns Hopkins, all fine institutions, I suppose, and I've learned to accept and support their choices. For many years, my grandparents harbored the idea that the family would return to Mexico, to the village and the family they loved. We all, their children and grandchildren, spent the decades from the 20s through the 70s traveling regularly back and forth to Mexico. In fact, I graduated from high school in Mexico City. In this slideshow, I've included photos of our family with cousins and uncles in Mexico through the years. After the 1970s, it was harder to travel back and forth, so the visits became infrequent and those close ties started to fray. My own father Graduated from the University of Wisconsin in the 1950s, and this is a photo of him in Mexico when he was a child. He was a member of the Sigma Delta Pi Honor Society, as were his sisters and I. After he graduated, he joined the business world, and his professional success resulted in him taking his family to live overseas as expatriates for many years. After I finished high school in Mexico City, I knew there was only one choice for college. With the physical beauty of the city of Madison, the outstanding academic reputation of the university, and my family's special relationship, there was only the University of Wisconsin-Madison for me. I arrived in the early 1970s amid great turmoil on campus. There were boarded up storefronts on State Street, tear gas in the streets during rallies, class disruptions. At that time, the bombing of Sterling Hall had just taken place. But there was still plenty of fun to be had. We sledded on Bascom Hill, people watched on the Union Terrace, took boats out to Picnic Point, biked in the Arboretum, all things you can still do today. As Dean said, I graduated in 1976 from the School of Nursing with honors. I also completed the requirements for a degree from the School of Letters and Science, and I keep mentioning that because I'm really proud I did that. In addition to being a member of Sigma Delta Pi, I'm also a member of Sigma Theta Tau, the Nursing Honor Society. My degree was a springboard to a 45-year career in nursing, starting in migrant health in the fields of Colorado's Western Slope, working in the Indian Health Service, and finally settling into a varied and rewarding nursing career in San Francisco. I was honored to serve on the board of the Society of Gastroenterology Nurses and Associates through the 1990s and early 2000s. I spent those years traveling around the country to teach practicing nurses in the field of gastroenterology. And I was on the education committee that developed the second edition core curriculum for that specialty. I finished my career in 2020 after having developed the first outpatient total joint replacement program in Northern California to be certified by the Joint Commission. And while this was all going on, I raised two boys who are here today, Matthew and Russell. Parenthood made me focus on the legacy of education. I think the most important thing we did together as a family was to read. We read aloud to each other well into the high school years and beyond. My sons both graduated from college, one from UCLA, the other with an undergraduate degree from Columbia and a graduate degree from NYU. Once again, I had to gather the strength to support those enrollment choices. My job was complete. I'd passed on the treasure of education to the next generation. But the duty of passing on a love of learning and the value of education stayed with me. And really, that's what led me to this podium today. This story ends with the importance I place on gratitude and responsibility. When I had an opportunity to share the great gifts I had been given, there was never a moment's hesitation. I would give back to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, the institution that helped form me and my family. I spent many happy semesters taking courses in the College of Letters and Science, enough so I actually qualified for an undergraduate degree. The things I studied continue to echo in my life, including my current course in Eastern European history at the local community college. My own love of learning has never ended. I just finished a course on the writer G.K. Chesterton, and one of his quotes resonates with me. Thanks are the highest form of thought. Gratitude is happiness doubled by wonder. Go Wisconsin.